Good morning, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We're at 14309 Southeast Foster Road here in Portland. Located down in the basement, going through a 4-inch ABS toilet flange on the basement floor. Advanced out here to 103 feet. I just went out to do some locating there. I'm not sure what's going on with my monitor here, but it kind of glitched or froze up or something while I was gone. So anyway, I started a new video. I think the last one probably saved okay. Either way, you can see we've got water running. I've got the bathtub running. It's kind of a slow drainer. I plugged it, but it's going to let a little bit of water trickle through. Luckily, it's an amount that's not really going to exaggerate things much as far as standing water goes. So I just went and walked across the Foster Road, kind of end to end in front of this property. I also did a big circle around the property. The only spot so far I'm locating or getting any kind of signal is kind of near where the driveway meets Foster Road. And along the side of Foster Road, on this side of the street, there are some manholes. So it does appear that there is some kind of main lateral, whether it's storm sewer, I'm not sure of yet, but we're going to pull back in here a little bit further and see if we can locate it somewhere else. Anyway, we do have some standing water in the line in a few different places here. Like this spot, for instance, we're so far out from the house. A belly like this is hardly concerning in the least. To block and back up a line in 4 and 6 inch plastic pipe like this from almost 100 feet away requires just non-stop abuse. I'm talking flushing paper towels and wipes down the line on a daily basis to ever even get close to a point where you could get a blockage to develop. Even if it did develop, the head pressure you would create filling up 100 feet of sewer pipe is extreme, and generally that amount of water is going to push things through. So it would only be under extreme abusive scenarios where that could ever affect anything at all. So not a belly I'm concerned about recommending repair on. At its worst point, you're right at an inch of standing water. So it's not to begin with, it's not a belly that's completely submerged or anything like that. It runs from around 90 feet to about, we'll call it 100 feet. It's close enough. Anyway, almost no buildup to speak of. The only thing sitting there is a couple scraps of toilet paper, which is normal to see on a 100-foot sewer line or any line in general anyway. There's nothing I could even recommend you clean out of the line here, let alone tear things up to fix it. So, and on a house like this, if we're going out to Foster, this home sits below grade. We're down below Foster Road. That combination, even if the main lateral out there is 30 feet deep and you've got 10 times the amount of room you need to theoretically grade the line, this combination of that and to boot a very long sewer line, 99% of lines like this, you're going to see standing water in them. It's a very difficult thing to grade a line out that distance with this kind of setup and not have some level of settling. So it just kind of comes down to, finding stuff that's significant enough to actually warrant dealing with it and repairing it. Thus far, I haven't seen anything that gets to that point. It's a very clean sewer line too, and that tells you a lot of the story. If you don't have enough buildup in your line to even recommend cleaning on it, it's not something that's going to be causing flow problems unless the homeowner is getting it to that point. We're going to go try and locate here at 67 feet, see if we can figure out which direction we're heading here. All right, I finally got to locate here. So right now we are in the driveway, and I describe everything, generally speaking, as if you're facing the property from the street. So if you're standing on Foster facing into the property, the line right now is running up it's under the driveway, maybe a foot or two in from the right side edge of it. And I just did heel-to-toe paces here from this point forward, and it's about 40 paces exactly to the street edge. When you account for the fact the line is diving, not running perfectly straight, that's going to put us at the main lateral. It looks like right along the edge of Foster. We have to be a little bit longer line there to get out into the middle of Foster Road. So anyway, the closer in that main is, honestly, the better. It's if the event you ever had to do a repair for some reason, you're at least not having to get out into Foster. But in this part of town, typically speaking, I'm not sure if this is incorporated or unincorporated Multnomah County, but generally speaking, the city takes responsibility for a portion of the line to begin with. As we get closer in here, I'll do another locate. It looks like, originally I thought the line shot out the right side of the house. I think the line actually shoots to the foundation wall just after entering into the sewer line on the left side. Yeah, that's if you're looking at the home from the street. So another spot here with some standing water. Keep in mind, we also still have a little bit of water trickling to the line from the bathtub right now, which is not exaggerating things massively, but probably by about a 1/16 of an inch or so. Well, this belly here dissipates off right around... It's even closer in than that. It's actually closer in here to about 40, we'll call it 42 feet. This thing were fully drained out, this belly here would be almost indistinguishable from the pipe bottom. It's so small. In fact, it's hard to even tell the exact dimensions of it. It's so tiny. Yeah, you've got some amount of water sitting right here. It looks like it breaks there for a second right on that turn, about 33 feet, and you've got a little bit more of it that persists back behind it. So the only scenarios where it's not that you can't get built up in a belly that small, but generally what's going to consistently hang up in standing water this minor is if you're consistently putting cooking oil and grease down the sewer line, which is something that shouldn't go down your line to begin with. So, you know, accounting for the water still flowing to the pipe here, you've got basically a continuous belly from around 28 to 42 feet. And it's ranging anywhere from about a 32nd of an inch to a 1/4 inch at most, which in the world of bellies is extremely minor. And on a line this length, I fully expect to see bellies anyway. Especially with the kind of setup you've got here. The long line and being down below street level. All right, we're going to adjust that slightly here, so about 21 feet. So if you do have a large household, and you do a lot of cooking, I don't go and beat anyone up when they get grease buildup, especially if you have a big house. You got better things to do than mess with your greased pans all day long. It's not a bad idea to do a rescope at about the 1 year mark. This is mostly if you have a large household or you do a lot of cooking and you know a fair amount of grease and oil is going down the line. Rescope the line at about the 1 year mark. It's going to give you a baseline for how the line's handling your living habits. That right there is just a big cobweb. All right, so the line is going out the left side of the house as you face the home from the street. All right, oh, my foot counter reset for some reason as I was going out there. Now let me push back out here. I just zeroed the foot counter out. Now you've got standing water in the line from about the time you drop into the pipe here. In my opinion, I mean, when the buildup is essentially non-existent, I can't even recommend cleaning on the line. It's not a situation where I'd recommend repairs. It would be a rather extreme undertaking to fix something that shows no signs or evidence of really any flow issues whatsoever in the past. Alright, just want to make sure I overshot that area there. So it looks like it's out to about 30 feet there. Yeah, right around 29 feet. And the vast majority of this is very, very, very minor. The overwhelming majority is somewhere in the 32nd to a 16th of an inch category. You've got Little bit deeper water closer in here. That right there is your worst spot in the entire sewer line as it relates to standing water. When you let the water kind of settle into place there, you've got a 1/2 inch of standing water here for about 1 foot out of that entire section there that's settled. This piece of pipe here, the joint on this one is looking a little bit compressed almost. And what I'm looking at even more so than that is this spot right on the other side of it. There's kind of that white line there on the right side of the pipe. What concerns me about that is that almost looks like a stress point, like the line could be resting on a rock or something of that nature. Like the plastic is turning white. If you take a black fork, bend it enough times, the plastic turns white before it snaps. So that's kind of what that appearance is looking like. There's just enough debris film over the top of it. We don't get a great view there. That spot, by and large, the joint does not show signs, very obvious signs anyway, of being open to the ground, but it certainly has undergone some stress. This is a spot here where realistically you'd have to do some cleaning on the line to get all that film off there to get a nice clear image of that of the pipe wall to see if there's a stress crack forming. Sometimes they never result in anything, and this is as bad as it gets, but if it's something that does progress, you could end up with a crack here that perforates through the sidewall of the pipe. Right now, it appears to be intact, but that's what that looks like. I can't 100% confirm it unless the line is completely cleaned out to get a proper view there, but that's kind of what looks like it's going on. Otherwise, everywhere else in the line where we have settling, you just have settling, that's it. This spot here looks like it's undergone a bit more stress. I went and located this spot here. It's on the left side of the house. Luckily, it is in the kind of dirt bark dust area between the side of the house and the asphalt driveway. I'm getting about 6 foot 8 inches deep here. So right now, it appears things are intact. My concern is if that's going to progress in time and change and open up. It's also I mean, we're talking within maybe 2 feet of the foundation wall. It's not my favorite spot for a spot that could potentially open up to the ground. You don't want water escaping the line and or coming into the line, or it could run the risk of causing issues there. In fact, what looks like you've got two right above that appears to be a two-way clean out. What happens sometimes, I'm wondering what occurred here, is if someone drove over the top of that clean out, which will put a lot of force straight down on the pipe down below it. Sometimes you can get that, I mean, no, you don't have that in this case, but I've seen that shear the tee off the main ladder or the main line. So anyway, if you want to get a closer look at that, you have to jet it out, clean it up just to get a proper view, but that does appear to be a stress crack that's forming there. So from that standpoint, I mean, it's one that I want to just simply recommend a repair on. As it sits right now, it appears to be intact. I'm just not sure it's going to stay that way. That's kind of the concerning part about that. So everything else beyond that point, all the pipe looks intact, albeit some has settled. All of it is in good shape. Plastic pipe can settle to an extreme amount without breaking. That right there is not settling, though. That looks like someone likely drove over the top of the clean out and put a lot of force straight down on that spot there. So that's the only part of the line there where you've got structural integrity issues. Everything else is intact, has adequate flow, and overall the line is functioning at this time. I'm concerned the line may not remain that way or may lead to other issues if that's not corrected. So if you want to get a clear view of it, clean the line up, jet it out, you can get a nicer view, but you can clearly see the deformation in the pipe wall and what looks like a stress crack that's forming there. And also the joint is, both the stress crack and the joint itself has been boogered up, and that concerns me too. Both of those areas could potentially open up to the ground. It's possible they are right now. If it's a glued joint, sometimes some of these things are subtle until you get down the road a ways and you start getting more signs showing through. If repairs end up happening there, I highly recommend a rescope to check the work. It's very important to do that, and you want to do that after the trench is closed. Make sure that you don't have any. If you correct that right now, because the pipe you're connecting to is to an extent out of grade. It's not going to necessarily correct the standing water there, but at least want to get some pipe that's intact, that's structurally strong.